In a world where clickbait headlines are all the rage, I'm going to get right into it today by saying and announcing the 10 worst figures in my collection. So, what are we waiting for? Let's get going. Well, what's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel for a lovely clickbaity headline and video today, that being the 10 worst figures in my collection. Now, before we get into that, as always, if this is your first time with us, or if you're a long-time lurker, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to turn on your notifications so that you know when new content does drop. And as you can see, down there in the corner, there is a link to my Instagram, as well as my TikTok, and obviously this account as well. So make sure to follow all of those. And I say TikTok because we are over the 500 mark, and I'm pushing forward to that 1,000 mark, because once I get 1,000 TikTok followers, I can go live, and I've been wanting to do some stuff on TikTok live for a while. So this is my plea to all my TikTok fans and friends out there. Please go ahead and follow me on TikTok. I would certainly appreciate it. But let's get into why everyone is here today. Now, naturally, I did the 10 rarest figures in my collection not too long ago, and everyone seemed to really like that. And if you haven't seen that video already, it is linked down below. But I talked about the 10 rarest pieces that I have because, yeah, I have quite a few figures. With that being said, I listen to the audience, and one of the things that they said down in the comments would be, it would be nice to see the 10 worst figures in your collection. And I thought, that is a fantastic idea. Now, before we get going into that, I know that sometimes will be viewed as being a very selfish, egotistical, spoiled way to approach your collection, because at the end of the day, these are luxury items. I get that. These are expensive figures, and they're toys that we, as mostly adults, collect just for fun. There's nothing really attached to them that is life-changing. They are novelty pieces. Now, you may be sitting there and saying, well, I only have so much money, I only have 1 or 2 figures. Why are you just boasting about the 10 worst in your collection? Well, I'm just trying to have some fun with this because, yeah, I love every piece. Just like all my children. I love all of them, but I'm disappointed in some of them. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So don't get all in a tizzy thinking that I'm spoiled, entitled, selfish, anything like that. I'm just showing you the 10 pieces in my collection that I don't really care for. So we're going to go through those. We'll show you some of the things that are okay with it, but I'll also kind of point out the reason that I don't really like them. So as we go through this, if I happen to hit a figure that you have and that you love, it's nothing personal, of course. These are just my collection and some of the things that I think that I would say, okay, why is this here? And also, you may be saying, well, why do you have it if you don't really like it? Well, that actually is a good question, and maybe I will move these pieces out eventually because I do have limited space. So when it comes down to it and I need to make room, these 10 are probably going to be the ones that go. Now, Venomized Groot is probably one of the biggest WTF moments in my entire collection. When I got this, I seriously said, WTF. Why do I have this? Because at the end of the day, I love Venom. Venom is one of my favorite characters in all of comic books, and that is my guy. I have a giant 48-inch Venom statue, 1/3 statue outside of this room right here. I love Venom! But the idea of Venomized projects was something that was a little bit interesting that got me hook, line, and sinker. Now, when they said Venomized Groot, I said, okay, I'm in, because who doesn't love Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2? It's Baby Groot and Venom, and that gives us this monstrosity, no pun intended. It's strange, it's not the greatest figure, but I think it's kind of cool. It looks neat, but at the end of the day, it does not hold a candle to the actual Groot from Volume 2. The actual Baby Groot, the Ravager outfit, is the one that you want to have. So when I'm looking at my collection, I literally have to stop and say, what the heck was I thinking when I got this thing? Now, Star Wars is known for its trooper design, specifically the Stormtrooper, and over the years they put out some very interesting variants. They've gone through and put through the Patrol Trooper, the Shore Trooper, the Death Trooper, and then now The Incinerator Trooper? Yes, this lovely piece was from that iconic scene from the end of Mandalorian Season 1. When Grogu and the Mandalorian were backed up against the wall, all the incinerator fire was coming, and Grogu put up his little hands, the magic hand thing, and saved them. I guess Hot Toys thought, okay, this is a figure farm at this point, let's go ahead and put out every figure that we can possibly can from this show, and then you end up with this. It's just a stormtrooper with some red markings, and I will say it is very lackluster. The gun is cool, I guess, but the flame effect that it does come with weighs the figure down. The backpack is way too heavy, and without proper balance in a stand, it will fall over. So major points off for that. But this is the main reason I didn't go all in with trooper variants from the Mandalorian line. No, I do not have the mustard trooper, and this figure specifically is why I did not continue down that line. Now, some may be thinking, can you have a Spider-Man on the 10 worst figures list in your collection? Well, of course you can. Matter of fact, I have 2, but let's go ahead and start here. Now, with that being said, if you're going to get points for having a really cool base, well, that's actually what sucked me into this figure. The Deluxe came with a really cool Dr. Octopus base from the PS4 game. But I also said I want a black suit Spider-Man, and they got me. Because at the end of the day, you want to have the white spider on the chest, the symbiote suit, which thankfully we're going to be getting soon. But overall, this aesthetic for me just doesn't do it. I understand it's cool from the game, but this figure has some serious flaws. Not to mention, it is very, very hard to pose because of how tight the suit is and how restrictive it is. If you're going to have a Spider-Man, you want him to look like Spider-Man, not just standing there with his fist in the air. You want to be able to do some kicks and some squirts out, all those different things. You know what? This is just one that I actually fell into the trap of FOMO because I said, I don't want to miss this, but I wish that I would have. Now, I will not doubt the ingenuity of this next piece, that being the Iron Spider from PS4 Spider-Man. Now, I'm not going to say that it's not a good figure, because it kind of is, but I just don't like it. I love the Waldos. Those are fantastic. They're big. They are very well articulated. But for me, when I look at this figure, I don't see Spider-Man. I just see a skin in a game. Yes, I know it's the Spider-Man game, but that is not my iconic Spider-Man. It doesn't look anything like him. Yes, I know it's from the comics, but it's just not for me. So although it's an objectively okay figure, to me, it is one figure that I held in my hand, and as soon as I opened it and unboxed it, I said, why do I have this? And if you have figures like that in your collection, you really need to stop and say, do I need to keep this? So when it comes down to having to purge the collection or move pieces out, this is probably going to be one of the first ones to go. Now, when I say that some third-party companies are hit and miss with some of their releases, boy do I mean hit and miss. And none are as guilty as Susu Toys and the Green Goblin. I'm sorry, Green Menace. Copyright infringement. Don't want to get in trouble there. That being said, they had an opportunity with what was considered possibly to be the best Spidey villain of all time, and they dropped the ball. Now, I will say, the head sculpt is not too bad. It's actually pretty darn good, but from the neck down, there are a lot of problems to be had. Take a look at the color difference from the arms to the face. What is happening there? Not to mention, this bag is just begging to flake and fall apart. Very, very shoddy craftsmanship. And speaking of shoddy craftsmanship, this glider, although it's cool, and I'll give them points for the actual smoke effect to give it a little bit of levitation, this thing falls apart all the time. Not a good look. To what could have been an incredible release, left me feeling incredibly meh. Yeah, I like the Green Goblin, whatever you want to call him, but I'm going to have to say, as soon as I got an opportunity to move this out, it is going. Ah, yes, I remember where I was when I remember that iconic moment when Ahsoka Tano fought Darth Maul on Mandalore in the Clone Wars, and I said, I need a representation of that figure, and this is what we got. But wait a minute, that's not what we got, because let's go ahead and put the right head sculpt on. We were saddled with this thing? This is the reused sculpt from the solo version of Maul, which looks strange to say the least. And although it looks okay, I do like the metal boots that gave him the metal legs. That doesn't look that bad overall. But man, you want to talk about a frail figure? It does have single jointed elbows. Guys, this is Darth Maul. He needs to be put in some dynamic posing, and single jointed elbows is not the answer. Not to mention, I liked the idea of the exposed chest to where you could potentially show him shirtless, but I will spare you that. It is a nightmare. The body they chose to put underneath that is an absolute travesty. So if you're going to have a Darth Maul in your collection, I would highly recommend to go with the superior version that is Solo Maul or the DX16 or 17. Now, if you're a Marvel fan like me, no doubt you want to have some type of representation of the man himself, Stan Lee. Now, the original Hot Toy Stan Lee is a great figure and probably the most iconic version that you could possibly have. But at that moment, that was all that was available. So, when the opportunity came for another version of Stan Lee to be released, the one from Guardians of the Galaxy in his spacesuit, I jumped at that. And then I said, you know what? I will never miss an opportunity to have another Stan Lee in my collection. And then they did it again. They gave us the notorious Stan Lee the Barber from Thor Ragnarok. Now, when I say underwhelming, boy, is that an understatement. Now, the figure itself is not bad. It's just that they made too many of them. It was heralded as kind of being an exclusive, Toy Fair exclusive, and there's a little bit of limited availability, so we thought, but they were giving these bad boys away for free. So when I'm looking at all my stands in my collection, I would much rather have the iconic stand or the one that fits with an actual Guardian shelf. All I can say is that, yeah, the head sculpt is nice, the tailoring is nice, but this figure leaves something to be desired. You knew it was coming. There is no top 10 worst figure list without Sideshow General Grievous on it. Now, this is one of the most iconic figures and characters from all of Star Wars. If you're a prequel head and you grew up with those, no doubt you want a General Grievous in your collection. Put him next to Jango, put him next to Dooku, whatever it may be. But boy, did Sideshow drop the ball on this. Not once, but twice. Now, I will save a little bit of face with this one because this is the Sideshow exclusive from a few years back that did have this nice exclusive battle damage faceplate. And yeah, I guess it's cool. The presence is nice. I'm not going to negate that. It does have some very cool shelf presence, but to get it into any pose is quite a challenge. The joints are a mess. There's not real much weathering, and I will say that it is fragile AF. So if you need a General Grievous, then yeah, see if you can find a good score to be able to put him to your shelf, but I wouldn't hold my breath that Hot Toys is ever going to be able to put one out. So if you are a prequel fan and you need something to complete your shelf, Sideshow General Grievous may be it. Now, if I were to tell you that Daenerys from 3-0 is on my list, you might be able to objectively say, okay, I can see the likeness isn't quite there, but what if I told you, not this Daenerys, but this Daenerys, which is by far the worst release, in my opinion, that 3-0 has ever put out from the Game of Thrones line. Now, I do have to give credit where credit is due. 3-0 does know how to make some impressive Game of Thrones figures. As you can see, they nailed some of these figures. I think these sculpts are excellent. So you have to wonder, what in the world is going on with Daenerys? Now, props to them actually trying to do the hair. I do like that it is real, and I do hope that InArt does capitalize on this for their Daenerys. I don't want the sculpted hair for Daenerys. It needs to look real. But what is going on here? The face, the proportions, the tailoring, it is god awful. So I am eagerly awaiting for my InArt pre-order because I can't wait to get this out. But I guess the plus is at least you get a baby Drogon, and that's kind of cute. Next up is a figure that is so bad I can't even display him as he was out of the box. Instead, I had to go with a third-party head sculpt, that being a Skrull from Toys Era. Yes, I'm talking about Team Suit Tony Stark. You want to talk about one of the most uninspiring releases that Hot Toys ever made? This is it. Now, you say, why do you have this figure? Well, it was given to me as part of a package deal when I bought another figure. I didn't ask for it, but here it is. And I said, okay, what am I going to do with it? Because overall, the Tony head is actually not that bad. This is actually the new Mark 85 piece that they did after the Tony Stank debacle. They gave you an opportunity to get this head sculpt. So if you wanted to go ahead and have that head sculpt but not send in the original, you could go ahead and grab this one from Team Suit. Now, I will say I do like the masked head sculpt. This isn't bad, especially when you turn the lights on. Pretty neat effect. But overall, it is not that cool because you don't have any of the other accompanying pieces. If they were to do the rest of the Avengers team, maybe you might have something there. But a single release Tony Stark in this strange outfit that doesn't even look screen accurate, that's an L. Well, that's going to do it for us here today, my 10 worst figures in my collection. Now, as I said before, if I happen to land on something that is your personal favorite or one of the only figures that you have, hey, it's not a personal attack, it's just a personal preference that I have for my collection. So go in peace, no harm, no foul. But now it's your turn to respond and let me know down below your worst figure in your collection. I would certainly love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments. And as I say always, if you've not yet subscribed to this channel and you like this type of content, let me know. And also, let me know other types of top 10 or different types of video ideas you would like to see brought to the channel. I would certainly appreciate it. Go ahead and follow me on that TikTok as I had mentioned. Follow me on Instagram. Subscribe to this channel. I would appreciate it. And I will be seeing you in our next video.